everybody. This is Stuart A. Swerdlow.
And Janet Diane Moria Swerdlow.
And this is the Expansionist News Podcast for middle of July 2016. And I have, instead of actual news stories today, I have more of what I consider to be editorials. And I also have a comment to make. Because on July 16th, 2016, my friend and super soldier Max Spiers passed away just outside of Warsaw, Poland. He was found unconscious and with no pulse and was unable to be revived. Now, he loved Poland, and before he passed away, and in fact when I saw him in Poland in May and June, he said to me that he felt free, that he never felt so happy in his life, and that he intended to stay in Poland forever. And
that he intended to never leave Poland.
Well, stay forever. And so when I heard about his passing, of course I was very upset, very disturbed, and they posted on my website simply that he had passed away and that he had been found unresponsive. Period. Well, ever since then, all of the trolls and people who were supposed to be his friends and loved ones have been attacking me on Facebook and in other social media. And quite honestly, I have all the information about Max's relationship with all of these people. And in fact, I have it in his own writing that he sent to me, which I've copied and distributed to the people who need to know. I'm not going to say anything. I'm not going to discuss the details of his death. That's up to his family and the ones who will take care of his aftermath. I will tell you that there have been rumors, lies stated on the internet, some of which have been promoted by so-called global researchers, but not shocked by the stupidity and arrogance of some of these people. People have been saying that he's not dead, that he's in a coma, that he's fighting for his life, that they spoke with a nurse in the hospital. This is all a bunch of crap. He was never in a hospital. He's not in a hospital. There is no nurse, and even if there were, they would not speak to anybody. They don't even speak English, most of them. So this is all a bunch of malarkey. So I'm just telling you this because I'm sure in the days and weeks ahead, you're going to hear a lot of crap, a lot of lies, a lot of innuendos and rumors and gossip. And I will tell you that 99.99% of them are a bunch of lies. It's shocking to me and interesting at the same time to see how, after a simple statement, and I believe my post was maybe 2 sentences, 3 sentences, simple, that so much crap has come out of this.
And personal attacks, which is even worse.
Simply because I said my friend is dead. Really. That I didn't let the family know first. Well, it wasn't up to me to notify the family. And second of all, I must iterate here that Max was in Poland to get away from all of these people, because I have a lot of information of what he told me and what he wrote to me in his own writing on various emails and Skype. So anyway, I'm not going to get into all of that. I can only tell you that he went to Poland to get away from the people who were attacking me. And I have proof of all of this. I have witnesses and I have documentation.
And
So
I would like to suggest that if you hear these terrible things, because it's going to happen, as Stuart says, that you take either this podcast or a statement from our fan page and just post it there so people can know that this is the true source and not all these other things that are being said out there.
Max was very happy in Poland, and when I had dinner with him a couple of times in May and June when I was there, he was a very happy person. He was in a very good mood. He had a lot of good plans. But he was also a troubled person, and he had other issues, which I will not discuss here. And many of them originated in the UK.
Well, and then, I don't know if you had said this, but one thing that you had said in your post was he was not attacked.
He was not attacked. He wasn't murdered. He was a very programmed person. And he knew that. We talked about it. There's a lot I can say, but I cannot or won't at this moment. But one day, the full truth will come out. But for now, let all the trolls and the ignorant, belligerent people who feel guilty and should be guilty, let them say what they want, because the truth will come out eventually.
And in the meantime, our prayers go with Max and those who
And to his family.
who loved him.
This, whatever this relationship was with them, I send my condolences to his family too. Okay, so enough about that. I won't say any more about it. Now, more to what's going on in the world. I have some things to say. I mentioned in another post that I made in the website about the Turkish coup that occurred just the other day. And you remember several weeks ago I predicted that there will be those who will try to remove Erdogan from power in Turkey. Well, it was a very poorly organized coup by a very small faction within the military. And Erdogan, who was on vacation at the time, blames the cleric living in Pennsylvania, Fethullah Gulen, for creating this coup against him. Everyone knows that anyone who was going to create an incident like this in a foreign country needs to be there and not be 6,000 miles away, living on a ranch in the Poconos and directing a coup. That's absolutely bizarre. But I find it very interesting that all of this happens exactly after Erdogan makes peace with Israel and Russia, and the next day was the attack on the Istanbul airport. But, and I believe that the coup was staged by Erdogan to show the world that his people want him in power and that he's in control of his country, because this was obviously a very poorly planned. I can't even call it a coup. It was like a stupid uprising, and of course we have the Istanbul airport attack. Now we have the so-called coup. So if there's two, there'll be three. So I'm predicting a third incident in Turkey. I don't know when it will happen, but it should be fairly soon. The so-called leaders of this poorly organized coup fled to Greece in a helicopter, and Turkey demands their return so that they can be punished. There were over 250 people killed and hundreds injured in this coup. If it had been a real coup, it would have taken place while the leader is in his office and not on vacation in some hotel someplace where nobody knows where he is. There seems to be an alliance of Israel, China, Russia, Egypt, Ethiopia, and Turkey against the EU and the United States. I can't say that I blame them, but it is very obvious that this is going on because the next day after the coup was supposedly over, Turkey cut all electricity to the American Air Force Base in Turkey, which was helping supposedly to bomb ISIS. So if the Turkish government was against ISIS, why would they cut off one of the main suppliers of the attacks against ISIS? When I was in Turkey last year, and I do wind up there a couple of times a year, I spoke to many of the people, and they despise Erdogan. So it was very shocking to see so many people in the streets supporting him during the coup. So they had to be staged and paid for those participations. I witnessed staged protests in front of my hotel in Istanbul last year. But interestingly, before the protest occurred, ambulances and police showed up first, then the protesters appeared. So obviously, another staged event. How could Erdogan organize a counter-rebellion from his hotel room via a cell phone? It had to be planned. The military knew where he was. They should have stormed the hotel and grabbed him if the coup was real. So, there's more to come. Erdogan is arresting thousands of people, imprisoning them, cracking down. Most likely, it was staged with help from maybe Israel and Russia in order for Erdogan to consolidate his power and do the bidding of his new masters. Now, just the day before all of this happened was the attack in Nice. Supposedly, a Tunisian French immigrant did this attack. The police knew about him. So why wasn't he stopped? I find it very interesting that after all these attacks in Istanbul, in Brussels, in Nice, in Paris, all over the world, They say, oh, we knew about these people. The police knew them. Then why the hell were they walking around in order to do this? Why? Because they're supposed to do these things. They're programmed and mind controlled to do these so-called terrorist attacks by the Illuminati, and that's why they're allowed to walk around free. If you and I walked someplace and said something against the government, we'd be arrested immediately and put in prison forever. These people are walking around, known to the police, on purpose. The truck sat in one position for 9 hours. That's not suspicious. And when he was questioned, the driver said he was delivering ice cream. Okay, so you're going to sit for 9 freaking hours in the heat of southern France to deliver ice cream? And they didn't stop him. The cousin of the wife of this guy said he was not a religious Muslim, not a radical. He was just a bad person who took drugs, drank, was involved in pornography, and beat his wife several times a week. Oh, that makes him a religious Muslim. How could a truck kill 84 people? I don't care how fast it was going. I don't care how many people were in front of it. When a truck hits a group of people, the people unfortunately get trapped underneath the gears and wheels of the truck and it stops. You cannot kill 84 people with a truck.
And also, what was that flight? Remember we were talking about, was that 48 or 84 that blew up?
I don't remember, but I don't want to talk about that right now. But the information that I have from Eastern Europe claims that there were snipers on the rooftops shooting people, and that's why there were so many people killed. And in fact, the numbers could be inflated when you see the images that were posted on the websites. It certainly doesn't look like 84 people were killed. It was a very small area that was affected. And then they show you these baby carriages and strollers, which are perfectly intact. If they were hit by the truck, they would be mangled. They're perfectly intact. I'm not saying that no one was killed. Yes, people were killed, but certainly not 84 people by the truck, and most likely he had help from outside of that truck. Plus, they said he had a gun and he was shooting. He never left the truck. He was sitting inside the cab of the truck. How could he kill people from behind glass? Well, as I said, almost after all the attacks, the authorities say that they knew these attackers, and yet they let them roam around on the streets because they are programmed assassins. There were claims that there were bombs and weapons in the back of the truck. For who? Was he going to get out, go to the back of the long truck, open the back, take out the bombs, and expect to do anything? I mean, seriously, this is absolute moronic information. So what will happen to the Muslims in France after all these attacks in Paris and Nice and everywhere? They're in big trouble. The Muslims in Europe have become like the Jews in World War II in Europe. They're in big trouble. And quite frankly, I'd advise them to get the hell out of there. Now, the Crusades started with the French going through Turkey in 1099 AD. And so now we have a repeat of history involving Turkey and France and other parts of the Middle East. In the United States, I predicted years ago that there would be a civil war in 2016. And so here we are in 2016. There's a race war and a police war. It's the beginning of the Civil War in the USA, as I have predicted. Why the sudden shooting of black people? Why only police attacking them? It's only happening in the USA. Even South Africa is calmer than this. It's a precursor for the Trump presidency. The right-wing groups are returning. And if you look at the new flag that was issued on the internet, with Trump and Pence as his vice presidential running mate, they have a symbol on the flag, instead of the 50 stars, that looks just like a swastika. Very, very scary. Now, let me go to some of geological and weather news. Just today, there was an earthquake of 3.7 off the east coast of Florida. Now, there's never been earthquakes there before. There is no fault line there. what would be causing these earthquakes off the east coast of Florida. And you might remember a couple of years ago, there were huge earthquakes off the west coast of Florida. That has to do with the Gulf of Mexico cracking and sinking. Perhaps there are sinkholes opening up off the east coast of Florida as the Caribbean tectonic plate moves up. Again, I offer my caution and warning to people who live in Florida. I would not stay there.
Excuse me, I would tickle.
Well, scratch it.
I'm going to.
Now, speaking of Florida, and I go to the other side of it, to the Gulf of Mexico. What did I say about the Gulf Stream? I said the Gulf Stream was dead ever since the BP oil spill. Now, new research confirms the likelihood of a Gulf Stream slowdown in the North Atlantic. They're not saying it's gone, they just said it's slowed down. Scientists suggest that this will create Europe from having the worst of global warming. And it's said that the slowdown won't reverse global warming and plunge Europe into another ice age. Instead, it's expected to slow the rate of warming in the region while the rest of the world warms up quickly. Well, that's physically impossible. And it's a very bad cover story because you can't have one part of the world cooling off while the rest of it is heating up. It also says people rightly fear that climate change would cause a new ice age. And this is from Richard Toll from the University of Sussex. And he said in a news release, and this is almost comical, "Fortunately, our study finds no cooling at all, instead just a slower warming. A boon for Europeans." Well, that's just a bunch of double talk. And I will now go to the next story, which is kind of connected to this, because it shows how they're covering up really fast with very bad science about what's going on in the world. Because scientists don't think, now listen to me carefully, scientists don't think Yellowstone supervolcano will be erupting anytime soon, at least not in the next 1,000 years. So they said, if you're planning a trip there, don't be concerned. Let's remember the guy who disappeared a couple of months ago when he was boiled up, when the caldera opened up underneath him and he died and his body was evaporated. But don't be concerned about visiting. Then they said, now remember they said, well, shouldn't erupt for another 1,000 years. But then they said, if it did erupt, it would have some pretty extreme effects on the surrounding areas. So they're covering their tracks. For starters, they said, the eruption could emit ash that would expand over 500 miles. They said the eruption would likely cover the ground with as much as 4 inches or 8 centimeters of gray ash, which could be detrimental to the crops growing in the Midwest. Oh, do you think ash would be bad for crops?
I've had it on my crops.
Yeah, I know. It's brilliant.
Not too good.
It's brilliant.
It's very heavy, which people don't realize how heavy ash is.
Yes, I know. You would survive the Mount St. Helens eruption. Mm-hmm. And along with the ash, the supervolcano would spew a whole bunch of gases. Actually, my father does that. Including sulfur dioxide, a gas that can lead to acid rain, as well as, global cooling. That's interesting.
They keep stealing your stuff.
Yes, they said that the eruption would be destructive. Oh, really? Especially to the western half of the United States, the whole frickin' world, okay? In the meantime, researchers are keeping a close watch on Yellowstone to check for warning signs that an eruption might be underway. But just a few paragraphs ago, they said it won't happen for 1,000 years. But they're watching for the sign of an eruption. Well, if you think American scientists are goofy, let's go to Europe. Because scientists are now saying a dormant volcano on the outskirts of Rome is poised for an eruption. However, here we go again, this may not occur for a number of years. They said that the volcano, called Colle Albani, was presumed extinct, but it's active once again. Remember a few months ago I said there's no such thing as an extinct volcano? This comes after a new report that showed new steam vents, earthquakes, and a rise in the hill level surrounding the area. Oh, but there's no chance for an eruption anytime soon. Now, this is where it gets like really fascinating because they're even more dumb than American scientists. Studies have found the volcano operates, listen carefully, the volcano operates in a cycle of 31,000 year dormancy, but the last eruption was 36,000 years ago. So they believe the next eruption could be in 1,000 years. Okay, hold on a second, math majors. 31,000 year cycle. It happened 36,000 years ago. So that means it's 5,000 years overdue. So why are they adding another 1,000 years to that? Very interesting, stupid Italian scientists. But then they said, yes, I'm not politically correct. Scientists are saying that when the volcano does erupt, they're not saying it will erupt, that it has the potential to be as equally destructive as Mount Vesuvius, which caused mass destruction in Pompeii in 79 AD. And the scientists say this, they hope it serves as a wake-up call to encourage fellow scientists to more closely monitor the volcano moving forward. Well, okay, if you think you have 1,000 years, why are you closely monitoring it? Why are they monitoring Yellowstone if they also think it has 1,000 years? These are cover stories. People who live in Italy, people who live in Wyoming, get the frick out. Because that means it's happening. It's a bunch of double talk, and they're just trying to prevent panic so they don't have to pay to relocate you.
My turn?
Your turn, but then I have things to say after.
Okay, and I'm sorry, but I have a stickle in my throat, so I'm going to
Well,
have
maybe
to
I should
drink
start
water.
coughing and doing things to interrupt you.
Maybe. You do sometimes, anyway.
No, I don't.
Yeah, you do. Anyway, I'm going to start here in the U.S. with one of our official presidential nominees, Hillary Clinton.
Not my nominee.
Anyway, this went around the internet, but it's worth repeating because I think it's very good. I haven't reported on here. It said that just hours after walking free from felony and misdemeanor charges for handling top secret classified information in an extremely careless manner,
Really?
that she boarded Air Force One with President Barack Obama and jetted off to a campaign event in North Carolina.
Yeah, she's not too worried because she knows that she don't care about anything.
The trip cost taxpayers $200,000 per hour. Isn't that kind of illegal?
That's what Michelle Obama does. She goes to Spain and Morocco and Liberia,
China.
like for $1 billion,
And she
because
takes-
it's a government project.
And she takes her daughters and her
Right,
mother.
and don't forget the fancy dresses, the designer dresses that they needed.
During the event, apparently President Obama spoke before Clinton, so he used the official presidential seal on the podium. But when she went up to speak, they didn't take that down, so she actually spoke with this on the podium.
Yeah.
Now, in my opinion, part of that, obviously, not only publicity and to imprint the people, but maybe they want to use it at some future point. Who knows? But what was interesting is CBS News correspondent Mark Knoller said that no one gets to speak at the lectern with the presidential seal except the president. He said that the White House has said that the presidential seal is not displayed at campaign events. Even Obama didn't use it when he campaigned for his second term.
So another lie.
Well, listen to this one. He claims that unofficial use of the presidential seal is a federal crime, which is punishable by a fine or jail.
Oh, well.
So
Sign her up.
So she just did one thing, then she illegally flew in Air Force One, and then she illegally used the presidential seal.
And do any of you now still want her as a president? Seriously?
Okay, but-
she lies about every freaking thing on earth.
But listen to this. Before I go into my next story, I want you to remember Hillary and Trump are cousins, and they're both related to the Queen. So they're all on the same story. It doesn't matter who goes in. It's just all a big show.
I think we should have President Erdogan become president of the United States. You know what? It's better than those two.
Okay, now listen to this. This is a longer story, but I'm going to read it.
Oh, no.
I'm going to give you the highlights because it's very good. This
Yeah.
is actually an editorial. It's supposed to be Editorial Day by Lisa Bloom, who's a legal analyst for NBC News. Remember, first I gave CBS News, now we're NBC News. She's an attorney, and she's a best-selling author.
Yeah, I never read anything she wrote.
Did you know that there was a rape charge filed against Donald Trump?
Yeah, but I really don't believe that.
Okay, listen to this. because she said the mainstream media ignored the filing, so she wrote a little write-up about this. She said that Mr. Trump has a long-standing and well-documented contempt for women. And she says that men who objectify women are more likely to become perpetrators of sexual violence, just as one with a long history of overtly racist comments is more likely to commit a hate crime. So she goes on to say...
So if you say something that's against women or a race, then you're also a murderer and a rapist?
She's setting the scene.
Uh-huh.
She said that Mr. Trump has relished calling women dogs, slobs, and pigs, cyber-stalked and derided journalist Megyn Kelly for having the temerity to ask him to defend his words. He attempted to undermine her professionalism by accusing her of menstruating. He cruelly ridiculed...
He was just jealous because he can't do it.
He cruelly ridiculed the appearance of a female opponent, Carly Fiorina, and his opponent's wife, Heidi Cruz. And then his campaign openly acknowledged that it disqualified all women for consideration as his vice president.
They said that?
Yep.
Really? I was hoping he would ask you.
He says Mr. Trump has a long history of debasing women. He even claims constantly, this is a quote, women, you have to treat them like S-H-I-T.
No, I don't
Unquote.
believe that. That's true.
Then, listen to this. This is news. This is a very good article.
Mm-hmm. If it's true, who knows if it's true?
Well,
Look what they said today about me. All kinds of crap.
No, she has legal documents filed in court. 2 prior women have accused Mr. Trump in court documents of actual or attempted sexual assault. And for the record, Mr. Trump denies all the allegations.
Why would he have to? He doesn't need to do that.
Listen.
He can have anybody he wants.
Under oath, Ivana Trump accused Mr. Trump of a violent rape. Did you know that?
I remember vaguely a long time ago. That's because she was divorcing him and she wanted money.
She said under oath in a 1989 deposition,
Yeah.
he had violently attacked her, ripped out her hair, and forcibly penetrated her without her consent. She claims he was wildly angry that she'd referred him to a cosmetic surgeon who had botched a scalp reduction, which is a job to cover a bald spot, and caused pain to the scalp, hence the vindictive yanking on her hair. And at the time, Ms. Trump said she felt violated by the alleged rape.
Yeah, meanwhile, she's rolling in his dough.
And there's a reason. A few years later, after their divorce settlement, Ms. Trump claimed she did not mean the word rape in a literal or criminal sense.
Right.
And this attorney who wrote this article said that in virtually every settlement case involving high-profile people, the person receiving the money agrees in writing not to say bad things and to curate negative comments with new agreed-to language such as, I didn't mean it literally. Mm-hmm. So the attorney's comment is, you didn't mean forcible penetration literally. How else do you mean it? Excuse me. A second woman accused Donald Trump of sexual assault in 1997. At the time in 1997, the then 34-year-old Jill Harth alleged in a federal lawsuit that Trump violated her physical and mental integrity when he touched her intimately without consent after her husband went into business.
Yeah, but what happened with these cases?
Well, that's what we're getting there.
I mean, it's obviously he didn't go to jail or do anything, and nothing happened to him.
Ms. Harth alleged that while she and her husband were trying to do a business deal with Mr. Trump regarding a beauty pageant, he repeatedly propositioned her for sex and groped her. And finally, it said it forcibly removed her from the public areas of his home, Mar-a-Lago in Florida, forced her into a bedroom belonging to his defendant's daughter, Ivanka, where Trump forcibly kissed, fondled, and restrained her from leaving. Excuse me, please. Despite her protests. In the court document, she said that Trump bragged that he would, quote, be the best lover you ever have. Now, this third woman apparently was 13 years old when she claims this happened, and that she was held as a sex slave to Mr. Trump and his friend Jeffrey Epstein.
And so she just decided now, 100 years later, to tell everybody.
Well, there are reasons. She said that as a 13-year-old, she was enticed to attend parties at the home of Jeffrey Epstein with the promise of money modeling jobs. Mr. Epstein is a notorious billionaire pedophile who is now a level 3 registered sex offender, which is the most dangerous kind. Jane Doe, as the defendant is called, said that Mr. Trump initiated sexual contact with her on 4 occasions in 1994. And on the 4th incident, she said Mr. Trump tied her to a bed and forcibly raped her in a savage sexual attack.
You know, I just don't believe that because he doesn't seem the type to do that.
she says,
He may have a big mouth.
think about what your client told you about him.
Yeah, but that was something different.
Yeah, well, she said Trump violently struck her in the face, and that afterward, if she ever revealed what he had done, Mr. Trump threatened that she and her family would be physically harmed, if not killed. And she has lived in fear ever since. Now, listen to this.
Yeah, I bet if it gave her $100 million, she would not be so afraid anymore.
She said that Jeffrey Epstein also raped her and said that he attempted to strike her about the head with his closed fist while he angrily screamed that he, defendant Epstein, should have been the one who took her virginity, not defendant Trump. And defendant Trump stated, I shouldn't ever say anything if I didn't want to disappear like Maria, a 12-year-old female that was forced to be involved in the third incident with Donald Trump, and that I had not seen since the third incident, and that he was capable of having my whole family killed. Now, it gets even more detailed. Apparently she has a witness. Tiffany Doe, she's
that
called,
sounds like a good witness.
says that
Tiffany.
she recruited Jane Doe at the Port Authority in New York, persuaded her to attend Mr. Epstein's parties, and actually witnessed the sexual assaults on Jane Doe. She said, this is the witness, I personally witnessed the plaintiff being forced to perform various sexual acts with Donald J. Trump and Mr. Epstein. Both Mr. Trump and Mr. Epstein were advised that she was 13 years old. Apparently, Mr. Epstein's own sexual crimes and parties with underage girls are well documented, as is Mr. Trump's relationship with him 2 decades ago in New York City, when he said at that time, this is a quote, I've known Jeff for 15 years. He's a lot of fun to be with. It's even said he likes beautiful women as much as I do, and many of them are on the younger side. No doubt about it, Jeffrey enjoys his social life. So, they said, look what happened to Bill Cosby. What's going on with him?
Yeah, nothing's happening to him.
He's in court.
Yep, that's it.
But this is a leader of the world. What do you call a nation that refuses to even look at a sexual assault claims against a man seeking to lead the free world? And she says a rape culture. Now we've been talking about this terminology, rape culture, and that is being turned into a buzzword, whether it's with Muslim women or whatever. But this word rape is being thrown around all over the place now, so that people are not so offended by this word anymore. So you have to look at all these things. And I think we need to keep our eye on this case and see what happens, if anything. Now this was also interesting because there was a picture taken of a man's soul supposedly leaving his body
Yeah, I saw that.
after a fatal motorbike crash in Kentucky. And again, they're trying to position people to be more aware of the astral world, of the spirits and the souls and so forth. So,
I think it was real.
excuse me again. And I did also talk to you about Jaden Smith, who is the daughter of Will Smith and what's the woman's name? I didn't put it in here, but his wife. Apparently, he's the new star in Louis Vuitton's new women's wear campaign. He was actually named this back in January. And now they're doing the campaign, and that's all over. And he said that he is long committed to erasing gender norms from attending prom in a dress to starring in the Louis Vuitton women's wear campaign. He claims there's no such thing as gender, and he's publicly encouraged people to dress how they want, and so that is so exciting and necessary. And following on the heels of this, my last story about kilts.
Oh, I want one.
Apparently, there's a man in Seattle who makes them between $200 and $330.
That much?
He says that men are not anatomically built to wear pants.
Well,
that
that's
they
true.
should wear a skirt.
Nobody is.
But if they call them a kilt, it would be better. Anyway, so he apparently designed ones that will have lots of pockets and belts. Excuse me. He's claimed that he's sold about 250,000 of these since he started his business in
Really?
2000.
'Cause I've never seen anyone wearing them.
He calls it Utilikilts. Now, again, how can we verify it? But that's what he said. So he said, if you're wearing a Utilikilt, you have authority, you have boss in your soul.
And you also have no underwear on.
No, that's what they won't tell you. He says half of his customers are women buying the kilts for their boyfriends. They wear it to music festivals, to the job, everywhere.
Right.
It's a conversation piece. It's a statement to say I'm a forward thinker. I'm cool with who I am. And get this one.
Yeah, they're cool, all right.
Listen to this.
Wind blowing up the kilt.
It's a flag for free thinkers.
Ooh.
Maybe it's on the
I could
flagpole.
take that 2 ways.
It's on the flagpole. Okay, and that's my last story.
Good. I don't like your stories.
So, anyway, it's kind of been an odd week and a very sad week in many,
Yes,
many ways.
and I want it to just go away forever.
However, this is where we are. Do you have any other things?
Yes, I want to say that in September we have our spectacular September 11th to 17th. It's on the website. Please sign up because it is going to be beyond spectacular.
It's getting full. We have people coming from
I'm
the
getting
UK,
more and
Australia, New Zealand,
I'm
all
getting
over
more
the
and more
US.
information, which makes me really, even I'm excited. Then, after that, I will be going to Italy, Belgium, Holland, and Germany. That'll be on the website too, with all the dates and where I'll be. Then I come back for 10 minutes, and then in October 21 to 23, I will be at the Doubletree Hotel in Tucson, Arizona at the conference. What's the name of the conference?
Transformational shift, but you're only going to be there one day, that Saturday.
Well, I'm going to arrive on that Friday and leave on Sunday, so I will be there. And then October 29, I will be co-hosting the Exposing Truth Conference in Wausau, which will be taking place at the hotel called House of Literature, which is a very nice place in the very central part of old Wausau, very fascinating cafes and all kinds of shops around there. You're going to love it. And then, I forgot, because between Tucson and Wausau, I will be doing a seminar in Santiago, Chile.
What, did you mention Italy, Belgium, and Holland?
Yes,
You said all that.
I did.
All right. And did you mention my webinars?
No.
Okay, our self-healing group webinars are going to be starting at the end of August. I think it's Wednesday, August 31st is the first one. So be sure and sign up for those. And we also have some on the pay-per-view. And we also have, of course, many people are receiving their new Hyperspace Plus. We've had 2 or 3 shipments that have gone out this week. What would be really great is if you could take your picture with it and then post it on the fan page or on our personal pages so that people can see how much you're enjoying our new book. It's really amazing. It has colored pictures inside.
So that's it for now.
All right, we'll talk to you again soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.